Hello, this is a brief overview of the Czech Language Navigator. The Czech Language Navigator is a guide to Czech grammar and usage that is aimed at learners, particularly those coming from English as their first language. And it contains a number of sections covering a whole range of topics in Czech grammar and usage. It has sections that are very traditionally grammatical. It covers all the parts of speech in detail, looks at word order, pronunciation, spelling, but there are also things that you often do not find in a grammar book, such as idioms, vocabulary differences, even trivia, such as bits of history, and a list of the Czech grammar terms that Czechs learn when they go to school. It contains a lot of details about all the parts of speech. So for example, there is comprehensive charts for all of them, including all these case endings, but we often also drill down. So for example, in this case, we look into each and every individual Czech case and how it works, what its function, form, and so on. There are also a number of shortcuts. So for example, there is a guide on how to tell the gender of a noun, or a list of the most useful noun endings, not just all of them together at once. And we look at the big picture in all the parts of speech. So for example, in pronouns, we give an overview of all different kinds of pronouns, but then we also look into individual particular pronouns that are of some importance. For example, every and all, and interrogative pronouns, and so on. We do the same thing for things like numbers, where we give you a list of all the numerals, but also look at how you can use them to talk about different quantities, how you can use them to tell time, and so on. The same goes for something like verbs. One of the big topics in Czech grammar is aspect. So we give you an overview of aspect that is not so traditional, and that is very much focused on how it is easier for somebody who knows English to learn Czech aspect. But we also look at the more traditional explanations there as well, and give you a list of all the verbs with prefixes that you can use to express different parts of aspect. And at the end, we give you a summary of all the parts of speech and how they change and why they change, but also other useful lists such as all the irregular verbs and the top 150 Czech verbs in all of their forms. After we're done with parts of speech, we look at things like syntax or word order, and in the different ways that you can ask questions, how you can formulate sentences with all those little words in them, but also how you use sentences without subject, how you answer questions for particular question words, and so on. In the pronunciation section, among other things, we do have to give a comparison of Czech and English sounds, but also a pictorial guide to Czech pronunciation of the most cumbersome sounds. But we also focus on the bigger picture, which is syllables and intonation, and that's really where you should also focus if you want to improve your Czech pronunciation. But as I said, we also go far beyond grammar. So we talk about the different idioms and phrases and vocabulary differences between Czech and English. For example, how you say ask in Czech, how to say the word Czech in Czech, different metaphors and idioms, such as what are different metaphors for animals, and how do people talk about their mental and physical health. And we, I also said, cover the differences between standard and non-standard Czech. And in the section on trivia, we talk about Czech in comparison with other languages, some of them very close, some of them very removed. And there's also a nice overview of the key dates in the development of the Czech language. And finally, we give you an overview of Czech grammar from the perspective of a Czech learner, somebody who has learned it in school, and we give you all the terms and all the structures that Czechs learn it. So this is quite an extensive document. It has over 150 pages. So I would recommend, if you work with it as a PDF, you'll learn how to use your PDF software, find out where you can find the bookmarks in there, and then you can navigate much more easily, drill down to different sections and subsections, and find the things you need. You can, of course, always search as well. But for those who would like to print their document, there is a complete table of contents at the end that makes navigation a bit easier as well. Now, this document has been in development for many years. It started off very early on in the mid-90s with a group of Czech teachers who were teaching for the United States Peace Corps during a summer term in Jihlava, a town in Moravia, and that was in 1995. And from then on, it was being used for teaching in a number of contexts, and that's where we made many more revisions from 1999 to 2004 in London, Glasgow, Prague. And finally, we made some changes, including changing the name, and released this document under Creative Commons in 2012. And the fact that it is under Creative Commons, that means that you can use copy, distribute, and change anything in this document, but you should give attribution when you do that, but also share the changes with others. And finally, you should not be selling this. So thank you very much. I would very much like to invite you to help us improve this guide, and you can get involved in doing that by going to the this form, and then there you can offer corrections, contributions of other things that are missing, but also ask any questions. And if you leave your contact details, we will get back to you. So thank you very much. Děkuju a hodně štěstí s češtinou.